going back to something you mentioned with the ACC tournament, when Hunter came back, PJ back, you said you were bought in. And I know you're always bought in, and I'm not like discrediting the
No,
team
yeah,
that
yeah,
they
yeah.
weren't bought in before. But was that like being able to kind of rally together with that moment? Was that like I don't want to say it wasn't like the tightest you've ever been before, but was that like really the moment everyone was like, you know what, like we can do this? You weren't down on yourself. So you were saying like,
No,
yes,
yeah. So like,
we can do it.
I don't mind being completely blunt with you. Like it's we can be honestly about the whole thing. So yeah, throughout our season, it was a kind of like a I don't want to say a give or take with our team, but some guys feel more appreciated than others. Other guys, growing pains. Obviously, it's everybody coming into a year and feeling like they have their own self expectations for what they should be or who they could be to the team. And then roles are given out. It happens with every team. And you have to decide whether you're going to accept it and do what's better for the team or how long are you going to fight it. And for us, we had a hot and cold season because we went back and forth on how many guys are on this side of the fence, how many guys are on that side of the fence, back and forth. And not us versus us versus fighting the system versus whatever else it is. I can be completely honest and say, I came to Clemson with a different agenda for the way that my year would go. But when Coach Brownell told me, hey, here's what I need from you, I bought in just because that's what's supposed to happen for what our team does. By time we got to that ACC tournament, we figured it out. Like, hey, we all have one common goal. Here's how we get to it. So what if PJ scores 20 or he scores 2? So what if Hunter scores 20 or he scores 2? Same with Nick, Al, me, Dave, Chase, whoever else. At that point, we were all just bought into the simple fact of let's win it all and let's write history. Let's make something happen. So we definitely were on a hot streak. And for me, I was just like, damn, like had we figured it out earlier, we showed the glimpses throughout the whole season of what we could have been. And now we're not in a position to where we have to win a tournament to go to the NCAA tournament. We would have already been penciled in, and this would have just been icing on the cake if we won it, So, yeah, definitely. And I think, what it when it started was more so when Hunter went out, we had to rally. But when PJ went down at Louisville and we had to play, and then, he started that game, but the next game we were playing Wake Forest and they had, the hype behind them and, obviously Jake LaRavia and Alondes Williams. But winning that game at home gave everybody the energy of like, hey, no, we're actually like we can do this. And when they come back, like we'll be even that much more better.
So yeah, that's obviously a lot to take in right there. But reflecting on it now, I know you guys were reflecting on it then, saying we could have been in better position if we were all fully bought in, knowing the roles. But just looking back on it now, like, do you guys wish that you did it all a different way, or you just say, you know what, it happened the way it did, like that?
Yeah, I would say yes, and then I would say again, no, like the same thing I said earlier to you about, just me playing football in college. I believe things happen for a reason. One thing I always talked about we always talked about when I went to Youngstown State was, the heartbeat of a team. Each year, the lifespan of a team is those 9 or 10 months that we're together. Mm-hmm. Seniors graduate, new freshmen come in next year. So then there's a whole new team and there's a whole new aspect. One thing that has to always remain is the culture, which will be Clemson grit, passion and perseverance towards a long-term goal, which is something that Coach Brownell prides himself on. And that has to be something that everybody puts at the forefront above everything else. And, you build it with that. But I won't say because it happened. So it did happen. But And I don't think it was guys just, on a selfish kick or whatever else it was. It was just what needed to happen kind of happened in the way that it did. And we never talk about this or have that conversation if, maybe Virginia Tech misses the shot. We go on, we win it in the fashion that they did. Now, everybody's a genius and you only talk about these type of things when you lose is my point. Every team in America goes through what we went through. It's normal. You have kids 18 to 23 that are trying to figure out their way and trying to figure out their own personal agendas as well as what the agenda is for the team. So with that on every basketball team at every school, you're going to have the turmoil that we had or the back and forth or the unsaid this and the unsaid that. Somebody's going to feel a type of way. But winning cures all.
Yeah. Well, you bring that up. It is a bunch of just, like you said, 18 to 23-year-olds that are, at the end of the day, we're all just young people like trying to figure it all out. But is that something that people don't, I guess, take into account and realize that's an 18-year-old or that's a 20-year-old trying to.
I say it all the time, especially at Clemson, they have the, you get on Twitter, the fans, they want to get rid of Brownell, whatever else it is. But I'm like, I would hate to be in a position where I make my livelihood off of 18 to 23-year-old men or individuals just because here's a group of, let's call it boys, who are trying to figure out how to become men, who are trying to figure out for the first time how to live on their own away from home, how to manage money, balance school, how to be an athlete, how to be a student, all while everything is fast paced. They're asking so much of you and the responsibilities that you have. You never ever get to sit back and be like, damn, I am only 18. And some typical 18-year-olds may still be in their senior year of high school, living carefree. Or they may just be in school and they have to make their own schedule and they have their own, life in society puts so many other pressures onto you. So you have to deal with all of that while still trying to deal with not only yourself, but the nucleus of what a team is. So there's sometimes when you're a captain that I can be going through it. I can be like, bro, something at home isn't right. Damn, I'm broke this week. I might have failed that test. But I have to bite all of those bullets to make sure the other 14 guys around me are fine. Because if I'm an energy vampire, then they won't be their best selves. So then I say that as a captain, and then I'm always like, well, think about a coach. He not only has to deal with what he deals with in his household, what he deals with from the media, what he deals with from the school. He has to try to make every single player on that team feel like they're the best versions of themselves. And then after that, make every coach feel valued, and then every manager, and then every GA. And then, sometimes it's unrealistic. And nobody ever talks about that part of the sport or anything else about that. It's easy for somebody on the outside to be like, you know what, I could do that. I could do it. And I'm just like, yeah, until you try it.
So when you offer that perspective and say that type of thing, you're I guess from the player to the coach perspective, you're one of the people that he has to take care of and make sure to feel the best version of themselves. But in a sense, could you, I guess from an outside perspective, you can already tell how hard that situation is for him. But could you imagine being in the same situation as whether it's Coach Brownell or just another head coach somewhere else, having to deal with all the noise and trying to rally together the team? Is that just a harder thing, easier said than done in a way?
Yeah, it's definitely easier said than done. But one thing that I think helps, and it helps on the team that are the most successful, my coach at Youngstown always used to say it, and Brownell hit on it too a little bit, is that if the coach has to coach, things has to coach effort or has to hold everybody accountable, your team will never be that good. So I didn't understand when he kept saying, like, my coach at Youngstown used to always say, like, hey, like, I'm gonna give you the keys to the car. You have to drive it. Like, obviously, I'm gonna be in the seat. Everybody, I'm gonna be taking the blame. When we win, I win. We lose, we lose. But it has to be a player-driven thing. Like, the teams with the best leaders, and like when players hold each other accountable and there's a humility between one another, and we can say things and give constructive criticism, or like, you take that much more pressure off the coach, and he can focus on just coaching basketball, and he doesn't have to coach effort. He doesn't have to worry about attitude. He doesn't have to worry about everything else. So if I was a head coach, I would try to search for, a captain or a leader who provides that locker room together and does that part of it, because, I can't, it's better to come from a peer. Me and you can have a better conversation than an authority figure, because we can confide in one another at the end of the day. Whereas me talking to coach, sometimes there's some people who shy up and don't want to say what they actually mean, or they see coach for when he's irate and when he's getting at him, when he's really trying to get to him, but they don't really see the person in him, because he can't come and hang out with us and come do X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. So they may not be that comfortable, but that's why I think if I was a head coach, I would try to, one, get guys with my ability to try to make it a little bit easier, because like you do better with people you relate to. And then two, find a guy who understands being the guy. Like, does it mean you're the best player on the team? It doesn't mean you play all the time, but you accept who you are and you get the best out of everybody else and you run the show.